Isn't public safety always in one level or another making things more difficult for the law-abiding? Whether it is a matter of you have to go through a DUI checkpoint, or whether you're at the airport and you've got to go through metal detectors. I mean, I could go down a long list. I mean, isn't that what public safety is all about? At some level, that you're going to inconvenience the law-abiding citizens?
If I could respond.
And this is why we have a Constitution.
We take it at, I think most people, they welcome the restrictions, for example, on alcohol sales. And we see with the growth in when you now go to many supermarkets, you can check yourself out. You don't even need to see the clerk. Well, we have now put into effect that you can't purchase your alcohol that way, because of course if you could just do it through the self-checkout, then kids and others would, people that we now restrict from buying alcohol because there would be no ID check, right? We also now have put these safeguards on the sale of pseudoephedrine because it's used to make speed, and we know what meth is doing to our communities. While it is a little more expensive now to buy pseudoephedrine because you have to show ID and you have to register and there's a record of the sales, and it's a little more inconvenient, those communities that have been ravaged by meth addiction and meth use have welcomed it. So there are many aspects of we are willing to take some inconveniences as a society to protect our public safety. I want to go back to just this whole weapons issue, though, and President Obama reminded us in his remarks yesterday that it was Ronald Reagan who in 1994 urged Congress to support a ban on the manufacture and ownership of assault weapons.
Gene Hoppen?
The reason Ronald Reagan is really polarizing character in California is because the reason you can't carry a loaded firearm in public is Ronald Reagan banned it. And that was because the Black Panthers decided they would carry guns in Oakland to keep the cops from beating them. And they were probably right in historical hindsight. So, when we're talking about civil rights, it's interesting to compare it to alcohol. We've tried that before. We had a constitutional amendment, how quaint, to actually outlaw alcohol. And it didn't work really well. In fact, gun control started with that constitutional amendment, because, of course, gangsters started using firearms that were otherwise common to do really bad things. Look, we would not accept these restrictions on books. We would not accept these restrictions on abortion. We have specifically not accepted these restrictions on birth control. So somehow the Second Amendment is lesser. And you know what? Mr. Van Houten's organization made this argument in Chicago, and the Supreme Court said, no, this is a fundamental enumerated right. It is no less a right than any other right, including the actual enumerated ones or the non-enumerated ones. So, when we sit here talking about, a little bit more restrictions and all these things, I mean, there are a lot of people in this room who would tell you that the TSA check gets darn close to the Fourth Amendment, if not actually violating it. And so the same people who are sitting here telling me that, it's okay that this all gets more restricted, the entire point of the 14th Amendment was that this wouldn't get more restricted in the states, and the states couldn't be trusted as we thought they could in 1790.
Benjamin Van Houten of the Law Center to Prevent Gun Violence.
The Supreme Court has made clear this is not an all or nothing proposition. Okay, there are plenty of gun laws that are on the table that don't prevent people from having a handgun in the home for self-defense. The D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals recently reviewed an assault weapons ban and large capacity magazine ban. The D.C. Circuit found it completely constitutional. What we've seen, in fact, since the Heller decision is that most of the challenges to gun laws have been rejected. The fact is that there's a lot that we can do and must do that is completely consistent with what the Supreme Court has talked about. The Supreme Court talked about preventing access by felons and the mentally ill as one of the long-standing prohibitions that is presumptively lawful and important. And we need to fulfill that mandate of preventing access by felons. And we only do that through universal background checks and other important measures.